Well, I'm here with Caitlin to talk about the glorious Cyber Trust Mark to end all our security concerns. But before that, I've got something which I'm probably the one most likely to be interested in first. There's a drug that will slow Alzheimer's by 60%. Now, this is the same drug a week or two ago that they said would slow Alzheimer's by 20%, but that was for advanced cases. If you take it when you're only a little impaired, it slows Alzheimer's by 60%, which sounds really good until you read the article and see the fine print. The fine print is it does this by cleaning the plaques out of your brain. So the drug crosses the blood-brain barrier and it causes brain swelling in 40% of patients, and it causes a not inconsiderable amount of them to die. So overall, it's hard for me to see how people who are only a little impaired will be rushing to take this stuff. It would be a pretty hard decision whether you really want to take this stuff or not. So I hope they improve it some more. But anyway, I think it's the first drug to ever actually do anything significant about Alzheimer's at all. So it is a giant leap forward in that regard. But I'm hoping they can do a little better. And then we get to the Cyber Trust Mark, the answer to our prayers.
It is the answer to our prayers. But before I start on that, I will talk a little bit about my background. So the background, what's behind me is the Veil Nebula. I shot this myself. It's summertime. So the Veil Nebula is in the Cygnus constellation. And this is true-ish color. So the camera I use does not have an IR filter. So the deep reds look really deep, but that's on purpose. And you'll notice that there's two colors here. There's like deep red. Let's see. Yeah, there's like deep red. And then at the top, there's this like teal blue. So what you're looking at in the deep red is hydrogen alpha. So that gives off a very deep red color. And then the teal color is O3. So it's hydrogen and oxygen, in this gas cloud that was formed by basically a supernova. And it just spewed all this hydrogen and oxygen into this lovely little pattern.
Isn't the center of the galaxy in the direction of Cygnus, or maybe I'm thinking just X-ray source?
No. So Sagittarius,
yeah,
is the center of the galaxy, and in people up here in the northern hemisphere, and I guess in the southern hemisphere, get a good view of Sagittarius during the winter. Right now, it is the summer months. So we have the summer triangle, which is three very bright stars: Vega,
Deneb and Altair.
Yep.
Yeah.
Deneb and Altair. Yep. Vega, Deneb, and Altair. And Deneb is the star that is in Cygnus.
Okay.
And that's just right overhead. So anyway, that's the background. And let's see. So yeah, let's talk about Cyber Trust. So this is
all use more Cyber Trust.
Yeah, we could all use more Cyber Trust. So this is something I know that you've really advocated for, Sam, and that is the U.S. government or some sort of label on products so you can see how secure it is at a glance. Just like you have like the Energy Star program, so you can see if it's a energy efficient appliance. You should know if you buy a baby monitor or a kid's toy that it's safe. So that's something I noticed. So I recently got a Furby that I'm going to take apart. And if you look at the box, it says, this Furby does not connect to the internet. It's just completely safe. And that's where consumers are right now. And I don't think that's a very safe or good position for the industry to be in. We want IoT devices, but we just want them to be secure, right? We want consumers to feel safe. And that's where the US government comes in, where previously the US government, or there wasn't really any oversight into security. There were oversights like the FCC, which would make sure that your device would not send out harmful RF radiation. There was the Energy Star program, which would make sure that that your device wasn't using up too much energy. And if you look on the box, you'll see like Energy Star, the FCC logo, all that good stuff. But yeah, the Cyber Trust Mark is the new one that's coming out. And so this is an article on TechCrunch by Carly Page. And it talks about how the Biden administration is just pushing out the initial version of the US Cyber Trust Mark. And basically what this means is that anything that has this mark on it will follow the National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST, um, guidelines or criterion, as the article calls it, for secure devices. And so the article gives examples of using strong default passwords, protection of the data in transit, that kind of stuff, and regular updates. And what's really interesting is there's going to be like a QR code apparently attached to it, so that if they find out later on it's not so secure, you can actually go on to the QR code to a government website and get details, about like, oh, this is no longer a safe product because I don't know, it's the year 2070 and your stupid um, encryption schemes have been hacked by quantum computers, So this is good. This is what the industry really needs. And I'm glad to see this happening.
Yeah, I think it's a good start, and I think it looks like they imitated the standard they're using in Germany. A couple of years ago, it does about the same thing. And it makes sense. It should just be more or less the OWASP top 10.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, sounds good. We'll see how it's actually implemented, but I think this is great. Consumers are very aware that their devices are not safe, and they wish there was something they could do about it without having to get a college degree in education first.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, it's a shame too, because Furby on the internet could be a cool little device. You could have it synced up with ChatGPT, and it can tell you all about its plans to take over the world, and it could learn language and stuff like that. But unfortunately, you can't really trust it currently because there's no mechanism in place, so you don't know if it's going to leak information about your kids. But if there's that cyber trust mark, then they could potentially release Furbies that have really cool new features without scaring parents.
Maybe so. It will depend on, of course, the problem. This is why the more cynical cybersecurity people say, it'll probably get hacked even if it has that mark, and then people won't trust the mark. And of course, that will happen sometimes.
It will happen. Like I said, that's why they're coming out with the QR code, so that if it changes, if it ends up getting hacked, you can figure it out.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it works out. I'm glad to see it happen. And so I was very interested. Claude is the new AI system, which is much more powerful than ChatGPT. And I finally understood how this works. This is how you use a pre-trained large language model to analyze your own data. I've heard about this, and I didn't understand how it worked until I read this article. This one is on kdnuggets.com, whatever that is. But the point is, what you do is you don't just ask a question, you feed it all the data in your prompt, followed by your question. Say, examine the data I just gave you and answer this. And the reason why Claude is so much more powerful is because Claude can take a lot of data, like an entire novel worth of data, as long as Frankenstein or something. So you can really give it hundreds of pages of whatever your company documents are, and then ask ChatGPT to give you answers from your company documents with the power of the large language model. And that sounds like something a lot of people could like to use, especially if you run it on your own hardware, so none of that data gets exposed to the internet. This seems much more practical than just because the current pre-trained models like Bard and ChatGPT, you're just getting a summary of random crap from Reddit. So it's probably it's good enough for casual use, but it's probably not really going to answer questions where you require any kind of authority in the answer. And if you give it the data it's supposed to search, then you can tell it's going to be going through your company's policies and such. So I think this will turn out to be very useful. But it'd be products derived from this. This itself is just the engine. Anyway, that's a good one. And Caitlin is going to the moon, apparently.
Well, not me personally, but some astronauts are going back to the moon, and they're beginning training for that, which is the first time this is happening in 50 years. So Ars Technica has an article written by Stephen Clark, and you can see the astronauts here that are going on the Artemis 2 mission. And right now, I think it started like late June. They were looking primarily at the missions themselves, just at the spacecraft missions, but they fully begun training for this new moon mission, and this has not been done for over 50 years. So I guess they're building this all up from the ground again. And this is a huge momentous moment. It's happening. We're really sending people back to the moon. They're training for it right now. Let's see, Artemis 2, I think, is the next big mission to go up, and that's not going to the moon. That is going to be a systems test flight. So they're going to be flying just around the Earth, but they're going to make sure that all the life support system works and all the, you know, bits and bubbles around the capsule is working as expected before they take it on a, weeks long trip, to the moon and back. I mean, that you don't want to find out on the way to the moon that your life support system isn't, up to snuff as they found out with Apollo 13.
Yes. Oh, good. And what exactly are they going to do on the moon? Are they going to start making a moon base or what?
Good question. I think initially it will be scientific, but eventually there will probably be some moon bases. The end goal, the long-term end goal, of course, is to set up rocket launches on the moon for deep space human exploration, or even just deep space exploration. And by deep space, I mean anything beyond the moon's orbit, right?
Not to bomb things on Earth. That's the first
No,
thing I
no,
was. No, okay, all right.
no. To
We
bomb
gotta
things
do-
on Earth, the easiest thing to do is to launch it from Earth
Right.
and then have it come back down.
Yeah.
Not from the moon. That it takes a while for stuff from the moon to get to Earth,
Yeah.
and you can just track its trajectory and know that it's going towards Earth and just shoot it down. No, it's still better if you're going to launch missiles or weapons to do it from the Earth, not from the moon. It'll be purely scientific.
But old school.
Old school. Yep.
All right. All right. And so Google has a Google cybersecurity certificate, which you can get for a total of like $300, a 6-month program, 8 courses online with supposedly a whole lot of hands-on labs. And I found a review which is semi-badly written, but anyway, there's a Medium has a review of it, and it just goes through the courses, and they sound pretty good. It sounds pretty much like the stuff I teach at City College, Security Plus, and then some Splunk and some other things like that, some basics of CISSP and all the usual stuff. And you can't beat the price, $300 online. You get Google certificates and Google badges. I am teaching a teacher's workshop right now. And the first day I taught about AI, and I pointed them to the Google machine learning badges. And a bunch of those students have got like 6 Google machine learning badges after the first day. So they really are very inviting, these Google courses. And I think this will reach an awful lot of people. And I can tell you from my experience training teachers, most college programs don't have any cybersecurity at all. They have like one course, and that course is Security Plus, and that's it. So very cheap online alternative will reach a whole lot of people that are just not going to get served otherwise. So I'm generally for it. I'd be interested to hear from people who actually take this thing, how good it is, how much it's respected by employers. But if it has all the hands-on they say it does, I think employers would expect it. I think that hands-on is the main thing they want. Although, to be fair, when we ask them, they say the main thing they want is soft skills, like being polite, obeying orders, listening, doing what you're told, things like that. That's what they mainly find missing. But after that, I think competency with hands-on operations is the main thing. Anyway, and you got this nonsense in North Korea.
Yeah, I'm absolutely fascinated with this story. So let me share it right now. The BBC has this article about Travis King. Travis King is a U.S. soldier who was in South Korea doing whatever soldiers do in South Korea when he was near the border city of, what was it, Panmunjom? Yeah. Anyway, that's in the DMZ, and he just like ran across the border apparently and got captured by North Korean soldiers.
Laughing.
And yeah, like I don't know what the story here is. I don't know if he was like in trouble at home. I don't know if this was a joke that just got out of hand. The US is saying this was not authorized, and I believe them because this isn't some like spy operation that went bad. This is just like he just decided
It's hard to
cross.
imagine what problem in your life you think would possibly get better by going to North Korea.
Yeah, any issue, like if he has legal problems, money problems, none of this is going to get better by going to North Korea. This
Well, I don't exactly know what they do to a random American in North Korea, but I'm not thinking it'll be anything good.
it's not just a random American, it's a random American soldiers. I've seen random Americans that were touring North Korea get tortured and killed essentially being there. What will they do to a soldier? I mean, I can only imagine it's like 10 times worse. His only option
Unless
now would be to
unless you
like
can offer them
defect.
secrets,
Yeah.
but I highly doubt that whatever he thinks good is coming out of this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, the only way for him to survive this in any piece is to defect, which will just put him in hot water with the U.S. government, and now North Korea has this bargaining chip of this soldier that they have, but does the U.S. even want this soldier back after? Like, I don't
Well,
know.
I guess technically he's still an American citizen, and so as a point of pride, they kind of have to demand him back. I guess I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah, I have no idea what's going on here. It's just an absolute mystery. So a bit more context. Apparently, he was with like a group of other soldiers near the DMZ, and just decided to run off by himself to go to North Korea and get arrested. And now he's probably going to die in North Korea. I mean, it's just so
You
weird.
would think so. I mean, yep. I
The-
wonder if the real story will come out. There must be something really wrong with this guy.
I'm sure there's more to the story. Things are still being pieced together. We don't know, the full story. This is still breaking news. It's just a fascinating story that I'm just, oh my gosh, this makes no sense. This is gonna not gonna end well no matter what happens. And plus right now is like one of the worst times for this to happen. There was like what a US nuclear submarine just docked in like South Korea, and I don't think that's happened since like the 1980s. I mean, it's just and just relations with North Korea and the US have not been on the best terms ever since Trump left
Yeah.
office. I mean, it's yeah, not
Well, we
good.
could put Trump back in. That'll fix everything.
One thing I will give Trump credit. He did not start any major wars,
No?
and and that's great. I mean, he almost destroyed our democracy, but he was not a war hawk, and I appreciate that in a president who's not a war hawk. So it's
Yeah, that was one thing. He
yeah,
said he was less of a war hawk than Hillary, and that was true. Hillary
it
probably would
was.
have.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
but I don't.
certainly North Korea would not have shaken Hillary Clinton's hands, but or Kim Jong Un wouldn't have shaken Hillary Clinton's hand, but he certainly did shake Trump's hand in the DMZ. I mean, it's something, and I do appreciate when there is an effort towards peace.
Well, I don't know. I've heard a lot of criticism saying that Trump didn't actually do any good. He just got played. But anyway, he certainly didn't start a war.
He did not. He did not. So
All
that
right.
that is not an endorsement of Trump, and it's just an acknowledgement for all the people that really dislike Trump, because he was a racist and everything. He wasn't completely a terrible person. He didn't get us into any major wars,
A
which is
stopped clock is right twice a day.
exactly.
All right. Well, that's it for this one. And we'll have another one on Friday.
Sounds good.